Welcome everybody to the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, June 5th. This is virtual lunch number 60, the end of week 12. Wow.
So I'm Christie Guimond, and I'm the Senior Manager of Innovation and Engagement at White & Case. I'm Canadian as well, but I'm actually based in London, and I have been for many, many years. My career has been entirely within the legal industry. I've worked for several big law firms, started a legal project management team at Ashurst way back in 2010, which is a bit hipster. Obviously, it was before it was cool. And then moved into slightly more innovation roles, a research and development role at Ashurst, and then Bird, and now I find myself at White & Case trying to drive innovation across our entire global firm.
Hi, I'm Nicky. I'm based in Amsterdam. I started my career in access to justice. I designed one of the first do-it-yourself platforms in legal, also before it was cool. It was also not the right momentum. After I switched to a law firm, Naughty Thiel, which is one of the largest in the Netherlands, where I advise the board on innovation, and I'm also responsible for the client experience program.
I'm Priya. I am based in London. By way of background, I'm a corporate finance lawyer actually, and I used to be a senior associate at a silver circle firm called Ashurst, and I focused on private M&A, but also did takeovers and listed a few companies on the London Stock Exchange. I then moved in knowledge management, and then almost by accident to begin with, and then by design, I moved into what we call now all things innovative or legal operations. So I was we were one of the first people to start legal process design in London. And I've been at HSF for the past 5 years now, Hubbard Smith Freehills. I'm based in London. I'm the legal operations lead for client solutions. In that, I moved basically away from practicing law into innovating the practice of law as it were.
As you have all heard, our backgrounds are different, but they're also relatively similar in that we've all worked in innovation, quote unquote, for a long time. So trying to drive change and make changes in the industry for a really long time. And in that discussion, what became apparent to us was that, we were all grappling with a lot of the same challenges. It's hard. There are a lot of women out there who are trying to drive change, who occupy innovation roles. And so we thought, well, if we're going to do something, we should do something that we know, and we're all women. We know women. Let's create a community for women who are trying to drive change in our industry and really bring them all together and sort of harness the power of the crowd and really drive true collaboration within the industry amongst that community of women. So that's really the genesis of She Breaks the Law.
Women tend to have a different approach to networking than men. They seek different things, especially when it goes to progressing your career. The reality is sometimes still a different one. Women really benefit from access to role models and by exchanging inspiration and exchanging stories and career paths. And when you start as a youngster at a law firm, which I once did, you tend to see that the world is mainly about fitting in and fitting into the partner mold. Well, we now live in a different world where you have loads of different paths you can take. So we really wanted to harvest that and also break down the usual silos between law firms, in-house, legal tech, academics, and really show that there is a lot of diversity within the legal industry.
That was really the void that we thought we were filling. We looked around and we didn't see one that broke down those silos. We didn't see one where in-house counsel and law firms and academics and journalists and consultants could all come together, be they lawyer or be they business professional.
There's a lot of role models out there and good examples in leadership, women leadership that exists within the legal ecosystem, which is not that well known or not acknowledged enough. And so we wanted to change that narrative that tends to be slightly negative all the time in terms of, for example, it focuses on how there are fewer women partners in law firms, and we not deny that at all. But we believe that the way to encourage better women leadership in the industry is by actually shining light on those that are great role models. Being a global network with over 2,100 innovative women, we were already sort of, and a virtual network at that. So we were already sort of ahead of the curve in terms of, being able to relate and being able to connect to our global community virtually. I mean, for example, LinkedIn and Twitter are our main sort of homes where we've been communicating, and the community has been communicating with each other really well. We launched a couple of webinars for our members under our She Shares strand. We are hosting regular events. And again, having the beauty of having a network with amazing, innovative women is that a lot of it happened organically. We are actually looking at hosting our first all virtual launch in Melbourne very soon.
Now we are very much working from home, so the lines between private and business have been affected by working from living rooms, kitchens. Being brave sometimes is to put that line back again from time to time. The bar for responsiveness has very much been raised, at least where I work, since there is this presumption of always being online and available, in which the video camera has become some sort of default option. But I think now more than ever we need boundaries to be able to navigate this and to stay creative and productive. And more than before, we need to be vocal about that and to manage expectations, which is not always easy.
We've seen a much stronger desire for people to connect, though, because we all feel so disconnected. One of the main ways that the network tries to connect people, well, we have a strand called She Connects, and that really was about bringing women together so that they could share their experiences. But She Shares is the strand that really allows women to share their own stories, their career stories, and where they've been.
So I would suggest to sort of women who are thinking of or who are leaving the profession to actually, look outside and beyond and look at other options that are there. So for example, our 2,100 community is full of lawyers and other allied professionals who are all working in the legal ecosystem, trying to make a difference and being women leaders in their own rights. Don't look at your career as a ladder. Think of it as a jungle gym, You might want to progress another way. You might want to climb up, down, try something else, come back to it if you will.
We talk a lot about lifting one another up. It's so important. I think many of us have lived through an era where there weren't very many role models, and often the ones who got to leadership positions, and they either didn't have the capacity to lift other women up, or they weren't interested because nobody helped them, perhaps. But I think we live in a different era now where we can lift one another up, where we recognize that actually we all rise when we lift one another up.
What we can do, not just as women, but as a society, I think, is that equality has to start at home. Even in the current situation, it's like we're all in the same storm, but in different boats. It's not exactly the same for everybody. The champions, the men, need to be part of this conversation as much as women in order to make sure that we carry on those good practices and we raise each other and we raise the women for the next generation.
What we do see at law firms is that clients are really pushing for diversity, and if you can't show progress, you will get less work.
And it's not the obvious conscious biases, it's sometimes the unconscious bias. We're leading a lot of training and support around that, because a lot of men want to actually support. They don't even realize that they're doing this, and a lot of women are doing that as well. So unconscious biases exist amongst all of us. And then finally, I'd say calling it out loud, and that takes a lot of courage. But calling it out loud, where you're seeing that a bit like racism, there is silence is acquiescence. There's no reason why you cannot stand up and call out something wrong.
Openness and transparency, those are the leadership qualities that I've seen coming out that people are really responding really well to. I've always said my biggest challenge has always been trying to get people to buy into the need for change. And actually, the COVID crisis has been awful, but for innovators, it's been almost an embarrassment of riches, because people suddenly recognize that they now need to change and that the world can change even if they don't want it to. I think we have a really, really good opportunity right now to drive innovation.
Ladies and gentlemen, she breaks the law.
Thank you.
Nicely done. All right.